going to talk about two different versions of Linux. We're going to go through Debian and a Debian package manager and then a Red Hat package manager. So we're going to be using Elementary OS for the Debian, and we're going to be using Fedora for the Red Hat package manager. So they're two different operating systems. It's still Linux, but the operating system just have different package managers. So the commands are just a little different. So what you see here is simply just showing you how kind of it looks. This presentation was taken from another individual who had their presentation posted online. So I'm not the creator of that, so I just want to put that out. But what you see here, it shows kind of the host, the current directory path, and the prompt. And this can be done through actually going through the command line interface. And so if you're using maybe like Ubuntu, Control-Alt-T will bring up the terminal, and we'll do that later. And it's different in Elementary, Fedora, and some of these other operating systems. All right, so what is shell? So shell basically interprets the commands that the user types and manages their execution. There's different types of shell. You have born again shell, you have corn shell, you have bash, and we'll be actually doing some scripting as well. And so we'll talk about the scripting. One of the key things is that the shell commands are case sensitive. So you need to be very, just pay a close eye to the actual commands that you're inputting, just because that they are of a case sensitive nature. All right. So in terms of actually getting help, one of the things you can do is type in man in the CLI. And remember, CLI is a command line interface, and you can type man and then the command you need help with. And so here's an example. Echo is a command that kind of echoes or prints out a line to the computer. And so if you type in man echo, man gives you the manual, the manual page for that particular command. So if you type in man echo, what happens next is this will come up. And so this will show all the different options and descriptions associated with that particular command. And so that's what you see right here. And so it's pretty neat that you can see these particular commands that come up with man and echo. Going a little further, this shows kind of the file, Unix, Linux file system, the actual structure. So here you see your different items. So here you have home, Mary, and then here, of course, here it shows the path, but you have your bin folder, Etsy folder, home, and user. And then within the home, you have different users listed right here. And then from there, you see portfolio, and you'll see other files as well. If you were to type in, you go to your command line and then actually hit ls, you would actually see exactly where you are. Now, if you hit ls space -l or ls space -ali, you'll see also all the attributes associated with that particular folder as well. So the files, their attributes, and things of that particular nature. Now, to find your current path, you can use PWD, and so PWD will bring up your current path. And so if you see here in this example, PWD, you see zhome 5, V or whatever, Linux tutorial, and so that's the current path. And so if you're following along, go ahead and bring up your terminal and do these particular commands as well, just so you can kind of see what's actually going on. All right, so this is an easy one. This is just like in Windows, changing directory. So if you type in CD, CD means change directory. You type in CD space and then the directory that you want to actually change to. But you need to understand what your particular directory or your file or your directory tree is. You can't just say CD and then a particular directory that's elsewhere. You need to understand how to actually get to that particular file. And so here it's just showing that this tilde sign is basically the location of your home directory. And so that's what that right there is showing. Then dot dot is the directory below the current directory. And then basically what I mentioned earlier in terms of ls is going to list the files. And so what you'll see here is pretty neat. So here, what you see right here, you see everything's kind of in black, but if you're doing it on your own machine, you type in ls, you should be able to see different file colors. So you may see a file color for a shell script or an executable script that can run. And so that will be a different color. Remember, if you type in ls space ls space -l, you'll see that long list directory, and it'll actually tell you the various permissions of that particular file. And I'll talk about grabbing those permissions, understanding those permissions as well. All right, so here's ls as the command. Here are the actual file options associated. So you have a long list. You can sort by modification time. And this is important because if you're actually going through the GUI, you can just kind of click on a folder and say, okay, well, what has been modified at a particular time? So if you're downloading items from a website, maybe pictures or JPEGs, what it may have, you can actually sort by the by how my file is modified. Now you may also want to see by size because your you may not have enough space. And you're like, okay, well, I want to look and see what type of file I can delete by space. So you have, remember, it's dash capital S. So it's important to understand that these items are very case sensitive when you're typing in these commands. Otherwise, it's going to read back that it's not working. You have dash H, basically this puts the file size in human readable format. Then you have dash R, which is reverse order. So it basically reverses the order. And if you need to understand more options, you have the man ls for more options. And then, of course, you can have options, and these particular options can be combined. So if you want to have maybe an item in reverse order and you want to have it in readable format, you can add those particular items onto ls. So you can add those particular options on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have only one particular option with the command. You can have multiple options with the command. So that's what it's talking about there. Options can be combined. So here, it's pretty neat. So here is the ls-ltr. And so here you see the dash rw. We talked about this in class where you have the user groups others. Remember Yu-Gi-Oh! Or you can say user groups the world or others or what it may be, but I always use others. And so essentially you have these file groupings. Remember, it's 421, right? Read, write, execute, RWX. And so now you can see the various file attributes that are associated with that particular file. And that's what you see here, file attributes. You see what the file is, so it's modified, and of course you see the size. Then of course you can use the asterisk. This can be used as a wildcard in Linux. You can use the asterisk as a wildcard. So now it's listing all these items here that have the .pl. And so here you see all these three files right here that have .pl. So remember, you can use the asterisk as a wildcard. All right, so making directories are pretty easy, pretty simple. So it's just mkdir. Now here it's blue. And so this is the actual directory. So remember, in your particular CLI, you'll see that the new files or directory or executable files and directories have different colors. And so here, what you see with new directory, here to have it as blue, it will be different on your system. So here's just, it's blue. All right, to remove and empty a directory, you're going to use rmdir. You can't see it here because it's just above it. So rmdir is just going to remove or empty a directory. So it is rmdir space the net directory or directories. Remember, you can combine different commands all in one line. So just rmdir, and you can say, I'm going to move this directory, I'm going to move this directory. So it can be doomed directory, it can be old directory, or whatever the name of the directories are, and you can remove all directories at one time. You don't have to do a command to do multiple things at the same time. All right, so there's different ways to display files in Unix or Linux. You have cat, less, head, and tail. Now, head and tail are items we talked about. So say you installed something like VI Editor Enhanced, so it would be vim. It would be, if you're using Debian, sudo space app, so apt-get space install space vim. If it's Linux, it will be sudo yum install vim. And so you would install vim VI Editor Enhanced. And once you create that particular file, right, so you're writing your file, you save it, and then you exit out of the file, then you can use these commands to actually display those particular files. And remember, head is going to give you the lines from the top to the bottom, and then tail is going to do the opposite. So you're going to see the lines from the bottom up. Then, of course, you can have head dash 10, 5, whatever lines that you want to show of that particular file. Cat, this is good. This basically dumps an entire file into a standard output. And so you should use this for short, simple files. You have less, and basically this displays a file allowing forward, backward movement within it. So you can scroll one line, or you can scroll space one page. And then, of course, you can also search for a string, and then you would press Q to quit. All right, head, we talked about that. You know, you can display whatever lines that you want. So here it shows head dash 50-n50 file.txt. If you have a file that's called jump, something like that, you can do head dash 50, and then whatever that file is, and it'll display those first lines of that particular file. So here they're just showing an example of using head. All right, so copying a file is very easy. It's just CP. To move or rename a file, you have MV, and then remove a file would be RM. So you can say move file. So you move this particular file, choose a location, or you can copy the file and then move it to another location as well. All right, this is just CP. This is the copy. So this is a fairly easy one. This is move. So basically you can just move a file to a different directory. And so that's what you see here. They're just moving the file to a different directory. And then you can also use it to rename a file. And so that's what you see up here where it says move output txt, input txt. So basically removing that particular file, we'll rename that file to that. To remove a file is easy. Remember, you can remove multiple files at one time. When you use remove or remove dir, be sure not to use a wildcard because you could inherently be removing key files that could render your system useless. So when you're removing items and you're doing like a remove recursive, remove directory recursive, be very specific in the actual files that you want to remove, because you don't remove something that's going to, like I said, render your system useless. That would be very, very bad. And here they're actually talking about the recursively remove. So that is rm-r, and basically just removes all files and directories. And the other thing is, once you put in your sudo, so you're doing sudo rm-r and you have that particular directory, or rm-dir space -r, you're moving that particular directory. There is no undo function, because you remember when we talked about OS rings and the different layers of the OS, when you're at the kernel, right, you have permission to actually access files at the kernel, and you do a recursively remove. Basically, you're saying that, hey, I have access to these lower level files, and I have all the access and rights. I'm going to remove this particular item, and those files are just going to be gone forever. So it's very important that when you're doing something like that, that you really understand what you're doing. Otherwise, you may have to rebuild those files or get those files from somewhere else, but you may end up damaging something like the grub or messing up a boot file, and you may have to, reinstall something. All right, so here it's talking about file permission. So basically, each file in Linux has an associated permission level. Of course, this is read, writing, executing. We talked about this a little bit in class. And this is when you can do your chmld, your change and modify command. So if you're actually in the CLI, is chmld space. You can do +X, so you can just give the file rights to execute, then the file name or file names, and then it will have all those items. But when you do it to a file, you need to be sure first that you understand the rights that you're giving, because not all files someone need to rewrite. It may just need to maybe execute or something like that, or someone may just need to read it. And then here, this is what I was talking about, the ls-l. This is basically given, lets you know what the permission of that particular file is. So R means read, W means write, X means execute. And so you can have a file that only reads, a file that only writes, a file that only executes, or you can have a combination of all three. But these are just, the permission levels that are given for a particular file. So here, this is where I said user groups others. So you have users right here. The first three are, user, that's you. This is the group. This is the second grouping of three. And then here's the world. So if you look here, you as a user can read and write, but you can't execute. The group can read and write, and then others can only read. And so that's what you see associated. So this is, very important to understand what these items right here mean. Now, when you see D, right? So if you look here, if you look right here, you'll see a D. And that D is for directory. So if I scroll all the way to the right, it says new directory. So you also see it's in different color, and it shows new directory. So that's what you see right there. All right, and so this is what we're talking about in terms of change modify command. So chmld will change, just how you actually change or modify the actual permissions to a file. So it's just chmld space, and then whatever you want to add to that particular file. And so once you add it to the file, so the first thing I would say do is do an ls-l space file, enter, see what the associated permissions are, and then think about what the permission you need to give, and then do the actual chmld, give those permissions, and then ls space -l, and then file, and then you have the permission for that particular file. All right, another item that we haven't talked about was process. We talked about it from a Windows standpoint, understanding what processes are running, and this is important so you can understand how the resources are that are associated with your CPU. Maybe your computer's running really slow, you have processes running in the background you don't need it running. If you type PS in the actual command line, this will show your actual processes that are running. And so that's what PS does. And so here is showing the all the CPU usage of all the processes. It's just showing it right here, but you see everything. And also there are more options that are associated with PS. So maybe you want to see the largest processes running, or which processes are inactive and stuff like that. And so we'll talk about those changes just in a little bit. So actually the top one will show pretty much all the processes, and it's showing the top ones. You have kill. And so if you want to terminate a process, you use kill, right? So here you see, you have kill, and then you have the process ID. So that's what you see right there associated with kill. All right, so you have input, output, redirection. This is called piping. So basically, programs can output to other programs, and that's called piping. And here is showing that you have program underscore A, then you have a pipe. So this is the pipe right here. So they're piping these items to program B, right? So basically, program A outputs becomes program B's outputs. And then here you have program A, and then moving items to file.txt. So basically, all the outputs that are happening in program A, all the items here, all the outputs are being written to this particular file right here. And you can do the same thing. So if you just reverse this arrow and you do it to the left, and basically all the items, this particular program is getting all its input from this particular file. So these are just some quick items to actually just think about and move forward from. All right, so here's just some examples right here. So this is a less piping. That's what you see right there. All right, so you have WC. So basically, this just is a word count. So WC is strictly word count. So you can count characters, words, and lines using WC. And basically, the first column, the output is lines, the second is words, and the last is characters. And so that's what you see here. So you have lines, words, characters. So you have lines, words, characters, and you have 251 characters. Then you have grep. And so basically grep is used for searching files in a particular or specific directory, and you use that item called grep. So here you see grep hello world asterisk.pl. And so this is the output right here. You have diff, and so you can use diff to compare files. So if you need to do a file comparison and what's coming out of the particular files, you would use the actual diff command. All right, so what we're going to do now, I am going to bring up my Oracle Virtualbox. And what I'd like for you guys to do is bring that up as well. So I'm going to bring up Virtualbox. And I am going to share that with you. So what I have up here, this is my Oracle VM Virtualbox Manager. And I'm running this on Ubuntu 14.10. And so running this on Ubuntu 14.10, Oracle Virtualbox is kind of the easiest for me, but you can run items such as VMware Player and stuff like that. So what I've done is actually installed two different OSs here. So you'll see my elementary OS. This is my Debian OS here. So you'll see basically my Debian OS. And what you see here, the preview is actually kind of what's already running. And so preview kind of just gives you an example of what's running. And then Fedora is my Red Hat package manager. And so here it's just saying, what's enabled, what's disenabled, audio drivers, network, and all that other good jazz. So what I'm going to do now is share my Debian one. So I'm going to share my Debian. And so here you see my Debian OS. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. All right. So I'm going to put in my password. And now it's logging me in. So for all those that are actually online, what I want you to do is go ahead and bring up your Virtualbox. And let's go through some of these items that we talked about. And so we can do these items as well in terms of going through these commands and stuff like that. Now remember, there's group chat to the right. So if you'd like to talk or ask questions, you can ask it in the group chat. So take about 4 minutes and go ahead and bring up your Virtualbox. Okay, so by now you should have had an opportunity to actually get your virtual machine or your Virtualbox open. So this right here is just a GUI right here. So what you see is a GUI. This is basically running on the is running Linux. This is elementary. This is a lightweight distribution. I like it. There's some hiccups with it, but it's pretty good. It's a little different. So I go here to applications. Say if I want to do something simple like changing wallpaper, I can do it here. I have tons of items I can do in terms of Software Center. So if I wanted to download items or look at updates, I can say, all right, let me go to Software Center. And this is very similar to the Ubuntu Software Center, where I can search for applications and stuff like that. So we'll talk about this stuff another time, but if you need to search for some applications, you can just download that here and see what's been downloaded in terms of history. And I can go here and I can see what's been installed. I can look at developer tools, graphics, internet, and what have not. So what I'm going to do is the most important thing I need to do today is actually bring up terminal. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to look at system tools. I have terminal. Double click that. All right, so let me go back here. All right, so the terminal's coming up. So this is my command line interface, or as I've been saying, the CLI, and we were going through those various commands. And remember, the CLI is going to look different depending upon the OS that you're actually using. So here is showing that I'm at UMSL /1-Virtualbox. That's where I'm at. And of course, you see the tilde, the $sign. So when we're talking about LS, this is just the LS. We were talking about the other items, such as just moving around directories. I'm just going to do CD, documents, and now I'm actually in my documents. I type LS, and there's only magic. So we talked about remove and some other items, but let's go ahead and see what's in magic. I'm going to do LS-L. I'm going to do magic, and it's going to say that in magic is this particular file. So I'm going to do remove directory -R. I'm going to do magic. All right, it's not working. So dir. To remove direct, I got to go into the directory. So I'm going to go cd magic ls, and I'm going to rm run update. I'm going to do cd, and we're going to go back out once. Now I'm here where magic is, rm dir magic ls, and now magic's gone. So I'm going to type in clear. Clear is going to clear the entire screen. And what I want to do now is I'm going to create a whole new folder or something like that. So I'm going to look at where I'm at. I'm going to say I'm in documents. So I'm going to go cd ... I'm going to go back up a directory, and I'm going to go to, if I should create a new one. Okay, I'm just going to go back into documents. I'm going to create a directory. And remember, creating directories mkdir, well, it's UMSL. So now I have this directory. Remember when I type in ls and different colors for the items, you can kind of see that. So now I have this new directory. I'm going to go to that directory. There's nothing in there. Now, one of the commands that we talked about in class that wasn't mentioned in the presentation was touch. So I'm going to touch sample1, sample2, sample3. Remember, when I do these items like this, what happens is it creates multiple files at one time. I have ls, and now I have these 3 files. And now I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, I need to create maybe just one more file. I'm going to touch sample4. Now I hit ls. Now I have 4 files. Now, one of the items that you should have downloaded and should still have is Vim. So I'm going to type in Vim, and so Vim comes up. I'm going to quit Vim. But if you don't have Vim, it's sudo apt-get install vim. You'll put in your password. And you'll see that it already tells me that it's installed. Say 0 upgraded, 0 newly installed, and 0 to remove, and 0 not upgraded. And it says that says that Vim is already the newest version. If I didn't have the newest version, it would install the latest version. So actually, what I'm going to do is mv sample1 sample1.sh do ls. So what you see now is I just renamed my sample1 file. I'm also going to move sample2 sample2.sh. I hit ls. So what I just did is I renamed 2 of my files. So you remember, you can use move to move a file somewhere. You can also use move to rename. So I just renamed 2 of these files because now I'm going to turn them into shell scripts. And so I'm going to hit ls-l. I'm going to do sample1.sh, sample2.sh. And so now I'm getting the output of these 2 files. If I did ls space -l, I will get all those files, right? So ls-l, I'm getting all files, but I just wanted those 2 files. Now, if I use my cursors and go up or down, I can go through all the commands that I just recently did. So I'm going to hit enter here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually modify these items. I'm going to chmod plus x sample1.sh, sample2.sh, and hit enter. Okay, I guess I didn't do that one right. So let me delete this item. Oh, sorry, I spelled it wrong. Yeah, remember the case sensitive. You got to be very case sensitive when actually putting in your command. So I guess you should take your time. All right, so if I do ls now, you'll notice that the shell scripts that I'm going to be writing or running, they're both green. So go ahead and do the same thing. Remember, just create your 4 files, touch. So touch sample1, sample2, sample3, sample4, then move sample1, and then the new file that's going to be the .sh file. And then after you do that, go ahead and change the permissions. Remember, you have chmod plus x. You can also do chmod 777. And remember, 777 is getting everyone, user groups and other read-write responsibility, read-write permissions. You can also do just 77. You can do 7 like 2 or something like that. There's different combinations that you can do. But go ahead and get those items done, and then we're going to go ahead and just run a quick file real quick. And so once you get that done, you're just going to type vim sample1.sh. And that's going to bring you to vim. If you hit insert, shebang, then bash, this is going to allow your file to execute. Remember, this is for comments. This is my first sample file to run. I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is type in sudo, and then I'm going to do shutdown. And so sudo shutdown is going to actually shut down my machine. Remember, I want to put a comment here to say this will shut down my Virtualbox. Sudo apt-get. I'm going to do sudo apt-get update. This is going to just do updates to my machine. This will provide my machine with updates. And then, of course, I do want to echo. So I'm going to echo this is this script will update your machine. Once complete, shut down. Thanks for being a good sport. Nothing is wrong with your system. All right. So go ahead and start copying that. We're going to add some more stuff to it, but go ahead and get that at least down. So take your time, don't rush. I'll give you about till 6:34, 35 to at least catch up to that particular part. All right, so let's go through this real quick. There's some other options that you have for Echo. So if you have Echo, you can do a -n. So basically, it won't print a new line while trailing. It won't print the trailing new line. You can have, you can use backslash. You can add a new line. You can do a carriage return. You can also have Echo print out a JPEG. So you can echo a JPEG. And it'll actually echo a particular JPEG that will be printed to the screen and stuff like that. So there's a number of different other items you can do with Echo. Additionally, you can also have this item print to a screen for a certain period of time, because you'll notice it'll just be quick when we do it. So I have this. I'm going to hit the colon, semicolon. I'm going to hit write because I want to write it. Actually, I had to hit escape. Let me click back in here in the VM. Escape. Semicolon, I'm going to write this item, and now I'm also going to just quit. So now you should have that particular file. I'm just going to do tail -5 sample1.sh. So now you'll see that that particular file is there. Now I actually want to run this file. So page sample1 page. I hit sh space the particular file, and now it's running, and so now it's actually doing the update. So it did the echo was really quick. So it did it, but it didn't go down. So that means that shutdown did not work. So what I need to do is vim sample1.sh. So I go back in here and I figure out what didn't go right. So power off. Escape. Save that item. I'm going to write it. Again. Q. I'm going to quit. And I'm going to go back to my commands. I'm going to run it again. It's really great to have a number of these commands handy, because if you're dealing with multiple OSs, it's easy to get really mixed up in what particular commands do. Oh, that was me typing quick again. All right, let me go back. Sample1.sh. Delete that. Check something out. Power off. Thanks. All right, so now I'm going to save this. Try this one more time. There we go. Okay. So it did work, but you really want to understand the commands that you're actually using. So that which you saw, that was elementary, and we're going to bring up Fedora. So I'm going to share with you my Fedora box. Files, Fedora, share. All right, so what you see here, this is Fedora. It says a different look. That's not what I need. This. Let's see if I can show you how it looks when you start it up. So let me. All right, so this is kind of just Fedora to kind of show you how the GUI and stuff looks. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Perfect. All right, so with Ubuntu, they're using the Unity interface, and so here's a different interface that's being used. So you see there's a ton of different tools here, different ways of searching these files and directories. This is just items that have been frequently used. I haven't used much, so that's why it's terminal, installing an item to the hard drive. I click all. These are all the items that are here. Comes with its own like rhythm box, evolution, its own little email. You have boxes. webcam, empathy. You have all your Libre stuff, and this is basically your Microsoft Office equivalent. Transmission, you have utilities, click the utilities, remote desktop, screenshot, it's, you know what that does. Disk usage. So that's all you see here. It's easy to install other items, but what we're more concerned with is going to, because that's not what I wanted to bring up. Just terminal. Let me cancel this. All right, so here you see terminal. It's a different look. So we go to the CD desktop, plus mkdir jump. Then now you see that I have this directory here. Same commands. Now try the sudo apt-get update command. All right, try this command. Now for the 6 viewers that are online, I do have it set up where you can ask questions as well. So in the box, you should see a box up there. If you click the group chat, it's a chat dialog box that's blue. It's blue on top, and then there's a back shadow of gray, and you can use that to actually ask questions and stuff like that. So tell me what happens when you actually try the sudo apt-get update. All right, so when you try that, you hit enter, it doesn't work. But we try sudo yum update. Sudo yum update will actually work. Remember, you have the apt-get versus the yum. So when you're switching these various distributions, understand that there are different commands used for those distributions. So here is just going through and seeing, you know, what packages need to be updated for this particular distribution. So that's what you see occurring right now. Now, if you're going to take any of the Linux certifications, be familiar with both the Yum and the Debian packages. You know, well, the Red Hat Package Manager and the Debian packages, so you can understand, you know, how to maybe rebuild packages and stuff like that, workarounds, different tools. Stuff like that. Now, one of the neat things that you can do, you can also take all these, like I'm getting a ton of errors, you can also print this out to a file for later, so you can actually have what those particular errors are. So we'll let this run just a little bit. There we go, it's done. And so I'll say, so here just saying, you know, what is the, because I don't have Vim installed here, so that's what I'm doing in here. So you see the command just a little different. Go ahead and install this. So now I'm going to ls c jump touch itch. I have this, and then also remember that this change modify command is going to work. ls-l, and so you see those commands pretty much carry over to one together. Now, some of the things that are different are maybe some of the, you know, items in terms of that you're moving. So if you're using like Kali Linux, remember Kali Linux has it pre-set up in terms of the password and what you use to get in. It's usually root backwards, which is TOR. You use that, you're able to get in, and so they have that set up a little differently. But a lot of them, in terms of the commands and the items that you can use, are pretty much the same. The biggest problem is converting files. right? So you have different packages. You need a tool to actually convert those packages. So here I'm going to sudo yum install alien. Alien is going to allow you to convert your packages, and we'll be doing some package conversion. But this will actually allow you to convert packages. So if you download a Debian file, you need to run that Debian file for Red Hat, and you'll need to just do a file conversion. Okay, I guess I got no space left. So let me clear this. There's other items. You have this one. We talked about that one as well. You also have, of course, your process IDs. So any questions thus far? All right, we're going to switch back. So I'm going to exit. We're going to switch back to the other operating system. So let me bring up this guy here. All right, so I'm bringing back elementary. Power off this one. All right. Remember, you can do scale mode, and so scale mode will actually it'll just change how it looks in terms of it'll scale it to size. And let me see. So we'll bring up terminal again. So let's go to CD documents. It was UMSL. Okay, gotcha. So CD UMSL. All right, so now I have these other files. So now what I want to do is I can create an install script. So say if you're trying to install a ton of files, I can do an install script, I can do a remove script. And so I can have these items pretty much run and install a ton of different things at one particular time. Now, the command lines or the commands for actually changing, you're kind of, turning off and on your system, you have a halt command. So you can do sudo halt. I can do sudo halt. That's half. I can do a power off. I can do a reboot. Or I can do a shutdown. And so I have these various commands associated with actually turning my system on or off or something like that. And so I'll put this link to this actually here. So if you're curious, you can actually just grab that particular link. So you have that. All right, so let me see. Install Python. So for those who do not have, so I'm going to pull this item here up. It's quite a bit. All right, do we have any questions? How are we tracking so far? Okay, not many questions right now. All right, so let me do this. Sudo git alien. Just get out of that. Let me show you how Alien looks on my other OS. So I'm going to reshare another screen. So let me do this. Let me reshare this screen and you let me know if it's not too bad. All right. So what you're seeing now is you're seeing both screens. And to the left, this is the screen where I have the items downloaded. So this is Ubuntu. Here are all the various tools. You can see it just looks different in terms of what I have. Now I have Alien already installed in here. And what you see right here is something called Package Converter. So just look at the screen on the left. The one on the right is just looking a little crazy, but the one on the left is where you see Package Converter. So I can download a RPM file. I can choose where the RPM file is, grab it, and choose the output, and then I can change the package type. Like I said, this is important because you have a number of files that are strictly written for like Red Hat and stuff like that. So I can change that, and then I have different options. I can say, okay, add scripts, no patch, install. I can have all these other items that are downloaded. So make sure that you download Package Converter, download Alien, and then Package Converter. I'm going to bring up this right here. So get. I must be typing. I must be okay. Sudo app-get install. Okay, so I must have typed something wrong. So it's sudo. I forgot the install item. So this is Alien. So install Alien and then install Package Converter. So get those items installed. I'm gonna go ahead and clear this. All right. So for next week's assignment, I still got to post the items. I'll do that right after this particular session. Just running a little delinquent. But the key things are to understand kind of the basics of cryptography. So the undergrad and the grad students will have different exams, right? You have different exams. So the undergrads will have a strong focus on the applications. The grad students will as well, but there'll be some questions that you'll have to explain. An example would be the difference between AES and DES or triple DES encryption, or what are kind of some of the pitfalls of encryption, or things just like that. The other items, so you need to download, be sure you have Cleopatra downloaded, CryptKeeper downloaded. You also need to download Tor, so download Tor. So make sure you have Tor downloaded. Yeah, so download Tor, and so we're going to be using Tor as well in the exam, and I'll give you some scenarios and we'll run through those scenarios. Additionally, you'll need to select an individual to work with. So it's important that you have your keys made. So have your keys made before the exam. So the person that you work with, all you have to do is exchange your key, and then you guys can go ahead and start working on encrypting and decrypting messages. But I'll send out a sample list of all the questions that you'll have for the grad students. Undergrads is mainly just application focused, but for the grad students, you guys have just a little bit more. And so you'll see a spreadsheet that says undergrad, it'll say U or G for undergrad or grad. Next week, we won't have this talk at this particular time because I'll be traveling. But what we will do is actually have an additional talk maybe earlier in the week, or maybe like Thursday evening or something like that. So we have about an hour slotted additionally once a week. So make sure you get those items in. I want you to go ahead and play with those other commands. Some of the other items I want you to play with are some of the install commands. So for example, what I want you to play with in terms of install commands, we're going to go here. And what you're going to see me do is, so you can get a new distribution. So I have sudo, remember, always do sudo apt-get update. Always do this first to update anything. So you're always going to run this. Put my password in wrong, so I can tell. And download a earlier distribution. So download an early distribution, and then do sudo apt-get. And basically, what the command you're going to do, this is a distro upgrade. Basically, this will say, do I want to do an upgrade? So what it's doing now is a distro upgrade So say if I had like 12.0 or 12.10 or whatever it may be, it will actually update my distribution. So play with the actual distribution commands. I'm going to put out there a full book that we can actually go by in terms of what we need to do and stuff like that. But play with all the apt-get items. So there's a ton of them. So you have update, you have upgrade, you have deselect upgrade. So basically, this can do installation or removal. So items are kind of left undone. Do install, do remove. So you can remove packages. You have source, and then you have other items such as check, clean, auto clean, and then you can fix broken items and stuff like that. All right, so we're going to I'm going to clear X out. So play with those particular commands, and then what I want you to try to do on your own, and I have a great example, is I want you to try creating a bash script that allows you to select a grouping of one or two. So basically have it echo a file. So a couple of options. So you can say install, let's see, install like Libre or install OpenOffice or something like that. But make sure you don't have anything installed yet, or you remove those items. But two different files that you can choose to install, and allow the actual user to select which files they want to install. And just do that through the bash script. And if you have problems, don't worry about it. Just come with what you have, and then we'll actually go through how you can create options for your actual installs. And then another thing I want you to do is download Kickstart. But make sure you have Kickstart downloaded. And we're going to go over some of the items that you can do with Kickstart. So download Kickstart. And this is a pretty easy one. You can actually download this from the Software Center. So if you must, let's Kickstart. And then we're going to create a Kickstart file as well. So go ahead and download Kickstart, and then we'll create our Kickstart file. And it's pretty neat. I can click more info, and then of course it'll let me know what it is. Guess I can't open it, click it, but nothing opens. So download Kickstart, and there's some other programs that we can work if Kickstart is giving problems, as it does like here, because sometimes these files, they work and then they don't work. So let's try this one more time. All right, Kickstart's not working. So I'll give you another option, but we'll create something very similar to these files that we can run into an ISO image. So download those items. We will meet again next week. And then we have class and the exam, and then you should be seeing a message from me very soon on Blackboard, the UMSL My Gateway, in terms of what needs to be done next. I'm excited that we had, up to 7 people showing up, or maybe 2 people that were dialed in twice. But play with Fedora so you understand those yum commands and navigating with those. And we will meet again next week. So I will see you guys here at UMSL.